and welcome to part 2 episode of Idols and Impact. Today is a momentous day for Grace in the Breaking. I am honored to have a friend of mine, Vince DelMonte, on the show to continue our discussion about idols and how they affect our lives, what the catastrophic fallout looks like, how to overcome, and the redemption through Jesus. Just to recap, what is an idol? Do you have an idol in your life? Most of us do, and sometimes we don't even realize it. An idol is a person, idol is social media, idol is food, idol is pride. All of this is rooted, and especially with money, when this is how we open up ourselves to a dark and spiritual downfall. Like literally, idols can tear your life apart from the inside out. It's when you're trying so hard at something and you put that above God, anything above God. So I want to put us back to Exodus 24. The Bible commands us that no one should make or worship an idol. I've been guilty of this, and I'm sure you have too. So I hope today opens your eyes and gives you a different perspective. You've heard mine. And now I'm happy to introduce my friend, Vince. Vince, welcome and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for the listeners of Grace in the Breaking.
Mm. Yeah, Elizabeth, it's great to be here. I'm excited to share my story. Hope it
Thank-
brings people hope and faith and encouragement, and also, yeah, an okayness if you're feeling like you're going to school and a lot of dumb mistakes like I have.
Well, it's nice to know for the listeners that they're not alone. Some of them don't know the Lord, and we're
Mm,
hoping that through this and showing the redemption, that
mm.
this will resonate, that something will have that aha moment. So, Vince, can you tell me a little bit about like where you're at currently in your life? Will you tell the listeners what you're doing and how you're making an impact?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm living in Franklin, Tennessee right now. That's how you and I met, and it is a God story of how I got here. I started off growing up in Canada, and back in 2021 realized that Canada was no longer livable for many reasons we don't need to jump into. But when people ask me, why did you move to Franklin, Tennessee, of all places, from Canada? I was from Toronto, Ontario. So I would just say in one word, freedom. Canada's really lost its mind the last couple of years specifically, and I didn't see it as a stable environment for raising 3 kids. So started off on a journey to get at the time, my wife and 3 kids to a new country, new beginnings. And I believe the Lord led us here to Franklin, Tennessee. I do feel that the entire journey was very spirit led. And we built a home starting in June 2021. It closed November 2022, got separated pretty much that same month, which was when my life hit rock bottom and everything spiraled very quickly uh, into man, how do you describe it? Anybody who's gone through a separation knows when you like actually realize this is happening. It's very dark. At least for me, it was very dark, very confusing, very scary. A lot of sadness. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of fear. Um, there was a lot of just complete limbo, uncertainty. So I figured we were going to reconcile and get ourselves to the United States as a family, as a unit. Um, God did have other plans. Um, as anybody who's in a relationship knows, it does take two to tango, and to want to make it work. And um, we are actually now here in the United States, not living as a family. Um, but the 3 kids, my ex and I, we all have green cards. And that, in fact, all came in at the last, like on the final hour, which is another God story and how we got the green cards. Because to get a green card, you have to have medical records complete, and um, which basically is a fancy word of saying fully vaccinated, kids and parents.
Mm.
And That's not something that we were willing to do, or that we were. even contemplating. We didn't do anything illegal, but we found a pathway to get all of our paperwork completed without
Right.
doing anything illegal. And that's how we are able to get the final piece of the green card. So there was a lot of other pieces to getting here, but including at the final hour, I almost pulled the plug and said, we're not going to Canada, almost out of spite, because there was this whole like, you want to come to the States, but you don't want me. So forget that. We're staying stuck here in Toronto, which became kind of selfish and babyish and like childish. But I spoke to a pastor and he said, go. Um, Everything you've done in your life that has led to success has come from leadership. It's come from being bold. It's come from um, doing what other people haven't done. So I don't know anybody who's ever come to the United States um, separated with 3 kids to start a new life, which was very scary, as you can imagine. Like, one of us wants to go back? What if, the kids love it here, and then, we have to change directions again, and there's just a lot of uncertainty being in a country not as a family unit, but, um, we're here, and we're here living in a new country. Both of us starting over in many, many ways, as I know you know what that's all about. And really, what God's done in this last 3 years is He's just stripped away everything that I believe I idolized. And I believe like this conversation is like, how do we get here? He's just literally cut off everything that I um, found comfort and assurance in, which was a lot of things that have to do with money, success, fame, and that played a big part in me being disconnected from God, being disconnected from myself, which led it to being disconnected in my relationship. So I've been on this journey the last 3 years of when you mentioned not everybody listening might know the Lord, I would say like I had heard of the Lord for 42 years of my life. I'd consider myself a Christ follower, but I don't believe like I was fully surrendered to the Lord and partnered with Him and co-laboring and co-union and just truly like consulting God. I think a lot of my life was praying for God to play a part in my life, not so much to lead my life, which is a big difference. A lot of my prayers were, Lord, support my agenda, not ask the Lord, Lord, what's your agenda? So I think a big part of my story on how did I get here was I think I confused the Lord's will for my life with my own desires. And I know a lot of my desires were good, but I think a lot of them were really focused on filling gaps that only Jesus could heal, such as for me, validation was a big one. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, always feeling behind, always trying to, prove myself, establish my name. There was a lot of insecurities, deep-rooted insecurities, and the money and the success and the fame were the things that I latched onto for identity. So the Lord really just kind of like unraveled my identity the last 3 years around like who I see myself. And here we are now in a new country. Um, it's been 6 months now and just rebuilding. I'm literally like my word for the year. I do one word for the year. My word for 2026 is rebuild.
Oh,
So
I love that.
yeah, and I really feel like there's been a lot of restoration already happening. A lot of incredible things that can only be contributed to God being, fully engaged and me being surrendered and really trying to hold this posture of obedience and just like listening and waiting. My dad taught me what the definition of wait stands for when you're talking to somebody. Wait means why am I talking? So I'm going to pause now because I talk a lot. So even with the Lord, I talk a lot, but I don't. I do a poor job of listening. So I'm in this position right now. Where am I at right now? I'm trying to listen. Even like I'm revamping. I built an 8-figure coaching business. Um, And I'm retiring that in 30 days from the date of this recording to start something new that I'm really excited about, but it's a little scary because it's a different message. But I really feel like the Lord's leading me in this direction. So I think I've seen the cost, like the real world costs. I mean, even in this separation, I'm losing literally millions and millions of dollars. We produced almost, and I want to share this for the listeners, just to have an appreciation of like how hard this has hit home. I bust my butt for 20 years. We had over 8 figures of net worth. And, in this divorce process, it just starts getting split up and, selling a dream home as we're speaking right now. And just seeing all this money, just like, it's like, you're just like, why, what a waste, what a waste. This could have been avoided, or could have this been avoided, or was this, and you just start to see like God in all this. And, I think the greatest thing from all of this is that I've become somebody who self-reflects now, and somebody whose head and heart is much more connected, and where I'm trying to learn how to live from my heart and not from my head, which is what I felt brought me all my success. But it has been a form of self-reliance, control. And um, I think one of the biggest things the Lord's done is just help me have much more peace, which is something I don't think I ever had. Even when our business was doing multiple 7 figures a year, I was just constantly on, on, on. It was very hard for me to turn off. So, yeah, right now I think we're just in this transition period, a very, very interesting transition period.
Awesome. Well, listeners, let's kick it back to the last episode when I shared and I hope you see the similarities of the posturing to have the idols. Of course, I want you to see how the spirit of rejection affects. It causes insecurities, it wants validation, etc. So my story and Vince's story, even though we're on different levels of success, like spirits don't differentiate.
Mm,
So what is was on him was one of the main things that was on me. And when you have the spirit of rejection on you, it causes you to build walls and break down things. And in the midst of it, you don't even realize it. I mean, First John 5:21 says, "Children, keep yourself from idols."
mm.
So, Vince, I want to ask you, like, at what point, looking back, do you realize that idols were very much a part of your life? And how did that affect your family and your marriage?
Yeah, I don't even know if I would have used the word idol. I think like in the time, so this all like I got separated when I was 42. Now I'm 46, so I wouldn't even. I probably wouldn't have even identified with the word
Mhm.
idol. It almost, I think, even now, it feels almost like that's kind of extreme. I don't have idols. But, if you look at, show me um, your time and I'll show you what you love, right? Love is
Mhm.
spelled Time. So if you looked at where my time went, you would see that my time went to my work. That's where I got my validation. I got a lot of recognition. I got a lot of fulfillment, and I had a great business. Like we were changing. I mean, it's a fantastic coaching program. We helped a lot of people, changed a lot of people's lives. So I don't. I probably wasn't able to see it as an idol because
Mhm.
I was using a lot of the language that you hear in the world, on social media from all the big alpha guys, where like I was pursuing my potential, right? I was impacting, I was changing lives. So everything was like kind of cloaked with a lot of like um language that would kind of dismiss like, no, this is a good thing that you've got going here. You're helping people. You're building a financial wall around your family. You're serving your family. You're taking care of, your next, your kids and all this stuff. But like at the end of the day, my family was getting the leftovers. And that's when I knew they were idols because God is a God of order, and I didn't have things in order. My family wasn't getting me first. I
Yeah.
wasn't truly serving them. So I think when I realized they were idols, it's when I realized I had lost my family. And obviously, I have my kids 50% of the time, so I haven't technically lost them, but we've lost that family unit. And that's been one of the most difficult things. Um, I think that's when I started to see them as idols, when I was unwilling to sacrifice, like, just practical things, like, I promised my wife that we go away to Europe every single summer on our honeymoon, Guess how many times we did it after 12 years?
How many? Ooh,
0. Now, did we take trips and stuff? Yes. But I had the same excuse for 12 years. Next year, we've got to launch. Hey, we got new team members. I got to make sure. It's just always an excuse. So I didn't prioritize my family. I said I did. And if you go back far enough in my social media posts, I always talked about family, but I wasn't living it. So it was almost like I was even, you know what, talking about idols, you know what I also idolized?
what?
Family. The family, I put the family up, but, like, look at our family, we have the
Mhm.
perfect family, and it was almost a form it was almost like a marketing tool of, like, I have this picture perfect family, so I there was even a form of idolizing, um, the family unit as a trophy of, "Look at what I've accomplished, I have a family, and I'm making money," so I think that even became an idol, and,
Well, that's so easy to do. I've done that as well when I found Jesus, and then I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna scale back work. I don't need the validation. I don't need to be killing myself and working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week." And in my I had already burnt my marriage to the ground. I had emasculated my husband. I had taken on, such a masculine identity and rooted in pride and, again, like, validation like you talked about. And then when I found God and he started softening me, like, there was and I
Mm,
started chasing the Lord, the damage was already done.
mm,
So he left, like, I don't know, twice before the last time, and I put him on an idol. Like, then it was like, okay, well, what do I need to make you happy? And I
mm,
put his needs over my walk with the Lord. And I think
interesting.
for me, that's when God was like, okay, are you done? Like, do
Mm.
you see yourself? Do you see what's happening? And so God started stripping away from me. So my question to you is, when do you think when did you realize that the impact of working hard and steering yourself towards that validation and always the family when that happens, they kind of get pushed to the backside because
Mm,
you're walking in such determination,
mm,
and there's a lot of pride. Well, there was a lot of pride on my side associated with that again I didn't see at the time, but as the layers have been peeled back, everything becomes more raw, and I now have eyes to see. Um, but where do you think, like, the pivot point in actually realizing what had happened and that there was not reconciliation from it, but it was going to be a part of God redeeming your life and
mm,
steering you in? Because I've watched your story.
mm,
For the listeners, like, I watched Vince's story before he actually moved here, and I could tell immediately, like, in it, I could see the fruits of the Lord on him. Whether he could see them at that point or not, it was evident with spiritual eyes to see. And it's been astounding to watch him grow and root and pivot his business in the very short time that I've known him. I'm
mm.
really excited to see where the Lord is going to take you, Vince. And I do believe he had his hand in everything and actually took you on a journey that maybe you didn't know you needed to go on in
Yeah.
order to get you sitting right there where you're at today.
I'm gonna do my best to answer this just, out of respect of my partner,
Yeah.
and, and I'm trying to think of, what would she, agree with if she was sitting right here too, listening and say, "Yeah, that's accurate." At the end of the day, I kinda see it for me, and this might sound like a little extreme, but I do sense that it was a rescue mission.
Mhm.
I do feel like God rescued me, and that might sound like really like prideful, as if like I didn't play a part. I truly believe like I played the part to get us to where we separated. But over the last 3 years, as you said, like I could see all the issues. Finally, I saw where, hey, I've taken like one of the first things somebody told me was like own 100% of your 50.
Right.
Right, that's it. But
Yeah.
you don't have to own hers. You own 100% of your 50.
Mhm.
And what just became clear is that we're not equally yoked.
Amen. I'm
And,
so glad you said that. Yes.
and I think it's a fair statement because, if she truly means, what she says, but she's expressed very clearly to me that she has a lot of issues, with the Bible, with Jesus, and doesn't, just a lot of very specific things around sin and God being a holy God. So a lot of like contrast, like black and white differences on how we
Yeah.
see things. It's really challenging for me because I believe that a lot of her influences come from like a really um, religious upbringing.
Mm.
So I was doing my best to have a lot of compassion around, hey, you know, there's a self-protective mechanism to there's a lot of rejection associated with the church at a young age. So I feel like I was able to see that there was a fear moving back to a guy who now loves Jesus, where there was a lot of shame, a lot of guilt associated to like what my world is considered religious. I'm now kind of seen as a guy who's been brainwashed. Everything that I do is not truly me. This is just like something that I'm doing for a persona. It's just my next play. And that's very hard, but I can also appreciate that because there's a fear to for two people to make something work, there has to be like a level of vulnerability
Yes.
where it's like, hey, I see where you're at and I'm willing to walk this through with you. I really did wanna walk it through, and I wanted to walk through her faith challenges as well. Like I said, she has issues with the church. And I'm like, "Hey, we can be the church. We don't like, the church is designed to control and they rob everybody and they just take your money," and some extreme views. And so at first I'm like, come on, I don't want to argue about it because I knew it wasn't head stuff. I knew it was coming from the heart of being hurt from religion in the past. So I guess what I was able to finally reconcile was like, hey, um, I'm willing to like walk through these logical challenges that are really rooted in pain from the past, I believe, but like you gotta want to walk through them too. And when I realized like there wasn't a willingness to do that, I did realize like, okay, hey, this isn't going to work. Um, and it was really sad. I have to tell you, it was really sad. I believe that we'll be able to co-parent effectively, and that we'll have a friendship in the future. But what I discovered is that I want to be with somebody who loves Jesus,
Amen.
and somebody that wants to live a Christ-centered life, wants to be biblically anchored, wants to be spirit-led, wants to pray together, and there was just a lot of things like and I take ownership of it, like, in my marriage, we never prayed. I was, like, afraid I didn't really know how. Like, we prayed at dinner time or in the car, "Hey, protect our car on the drive to church," you know? "Hey, pray for the kids' safety this week and for a good week at school," like, those kind of prayers, and there wasn't depth, and I think what happened through this is because like, I'm sharing this because when I was rejected, you talked about rejection. When I was rejected and it was like, "Hey, we're done. I tried. I got nothing in return." For me, that was like massive rejection because I was saying, "No, no, no. I did screw up, but that's not who I want to be. I want to
Right.
kill that guy, and I want give the new Vince a chance. Like at least say no to the new Vince. Don't say no to the old Vince." Like, or I said, sorry. I said you can say no to the old Vince. That's totally fine. I
Yeah.
totally get you. But don't say no to this new Vince. And I think the new Vince was, I think she said no to the new Vince as well, because the new Vince was somebody that loved Jesus and wanted Jesus to be at the center of the relationship. So I think that's when it was hard. It was okay for me to move forward when I realized that the new Vince was being rejected as well. I was okay with her rejecting the old Vince because there's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't blame anybody for not wanting to be a
Right.
part of. Um, so I think that gave me the peace of also knowing that like, hey, in my next relationship, God willing, um, I want somebody that has external truth as their
Mhm.
guide and not like, um, even what I discovered, I've been like, not like married. My covenant marriage was broken 3 years ago. Like even out on dates and stuff, like you meet people who have the new age religion and
Yeah.
they don't have a source of truth outside. Uh, um, Everything is like based on how they feel or like I talk to God all the time, but it's like, which God are you talking about?
Right.
Right? Which God?
Yeah.
The God that confirms all of your things that you want to do that are actually not a part of his commandments or way of living. And I think like I need to be with somebody that does not go to their feelings or does not go to um, their version of God to confirm how to live life. And now it was just like very practical. I'm like, okay, I kind of missed the mark here. And
Yeah.
it's very humbling as well. Like, so I have to figure out, how did I just jump into a relationship so quickly without like understanding this? And it's because I didn't really have depth with Jesus myself. And when I was
Right.
rejected, that was the person who showed up for me. And that's when I like my heart completely softened. I felt like my head and my heart connected for the first time. And that's
Yeah.
when I was just like an emotional goo for like the last 3 years. I can cry like on like prom. If you put like a certain type of music on, or with my kids, like I'm so soft now. I'm so different. I was
But
so shut
that's
down
so
before.
good.
I love it. Yeah, my daughters
Uh,
always ask me, "Are you crying again, Dad? Are you crying again, Dad?" They're always looking at me like, "Dad, are you crying again?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I became like my dad." That's like my dad. He's a softie, but I love it because there's this. It's just this softness that only God could have done.
Yeah.
Um, and and now I'm like on the other side where I feel like I'm too soft, where I used to be like just very driven, very like always aggressive, always assertive, always on. Where now I'm like trying to just learn how to play. Like my therapist said, you just got to learn how to play both ends of the guitar. Like you just have learned how to play one. We got to learn how to play the full guitar now.
Yeah.
So I'm just learning how to expand my emotional range now, specifically in how to connect with people. So a lot of gifts, a lot like this pain gave me back so many gifts that would never have been
Yes.
given to me if I
Mm.
didn't go through this. Or else, I honestly, I think I'd be the exact same guy today if this didn't happen. I don't think anything would have changed.
Well, I can see, and actually your story is verbatim, and the listeners I know will put two and two together. I was just talking about when I found Jesus and it radically changed the hardened, driven Elizabeth. Like I was around, but I wasn't fully present because like I was checking emails, all of these things. And that rejection of the last time that he left, and it was that aha moment when every single thing was stripped away, and I realized that I was chasing God. I was talking about these things. There was no support because he very much would say, like, I don't get this. He didn't think he had a story, even though life had happened. And
Mm,
it was just the unequally yoked. And like I've told the listeners, and we've talked about, when you don't have a strong foundation, it's not rooted in Jesus, you're
mm,
not equally yoked.
yeah,
It's doomed from the beginning. So I'm
yeah,
glad that you said that. And God does not take away without restoring greater than we could ever imagine in the
yeah,
surrender and in the obedience. And it's really an honor to like watch you grow and to watch you break free from things that held on to you.
yeah.
Um, so my question is now, where are you taking? I want you to tell the listeners where you're making the shift in
Mm.
your coaching business of coaching others, other coaches, and you've been tremendous success. Where's that shifting to now? I want them to see how the Lord has positioned you and how that's changing your trajectory. Because, like you said, people thought this was just a phase, but don't you worry about that. You
Mm,
keep staying rooted because, again, your fruits are evident to those who have spiritual eyes to see.
mm,
And the more people are around you and the more exposure that they're getting as you continue to walk in obedience, your fruits are only going to grow and multiply. And obviously, your spirit stands out when you walk into a room. So you keep doing you, Vince. Don't you listen to those naysayers. They're just jealous.
yeah. I think before I talk about the business, I want to talk about how I'm doing my best to show up differently as a dad,
I'd love that. Yes.
because really, like, this is where I'm getting the most joy and fulfillment, just raising these three kids. And I remember, like, when, like, you know, crap hit the fan. Um, first guys I went to were my brothers, and they started sending me a lot of articles and stuff. I'm like, dude, you're gonna be okay. And I guess there's a lot of research that shows like kids just need one high impact parent to thrive. And I was really encouraged by that. And not to say like she's not a high impact parent and she's not doing her part, but I just like that I was really like torn that like, oh, my kids are about to get turned into roadkill. I had a therapist that, really was like a little brutal, to be honest, and just said, if you don't fix this, your kids are going to turn into roadkill. And I believed her. I'm like, your kids,
I don't like those word
yeah,
seeds.
those are the words she used, roadkill. Your kids will become roadkill
Well,
if
we
you don't.
return that null and void and render it useless in the name of Jesus. Sorry, Vince. I'm
Yeah,
big about word curses and seeding, and we just cast those words down.
yeah, I appreciate you saying that. To be honest, I'm glad you just called that out because those words never sat well with me. But I knew where she was coming from, etc. But um, it's been crazy because talking about restoration, like I even talk to my kids. They're 12, 10, and 7, and they say, "Daddy, things are so like." They miss the youngest one. I was like, "Oh, I miss mommy. I miss daddy." And they say some things that are so brutally sad. Like, it's not right that you guys are apart and you live so close. And like even recently, they're like, "You guys, when we see you guys aren't even fighting anymore. So why can't you guys? Why can't we all live in the same house anymore?" And they're like, "You guys don't fight anymore." And that breaks my heart because they're seeing like we can actually communicate peacefully now, and they don't see the fighting when they were like at the start, they're like, "Oh yeah, mommy and daddy can't be together because they're always fighting." If my parents asked my kids, "How's mommy and daddy doing?" They're like, "Well, they fight a lot. That's why they don't live together anymore." And like a 7-year-old shouldn't be saying that and sending Santa Claus, in the mailbox thing, what we, bring mommy and daddy back together again because they don't fight anymore. Um, so I think the first thing was just like reassurance that like the kids can have a really positive life from the way I show up, even though like they see me 2 weeks a month. Um, for the most part, um, I'm leading them spiritually. I really feel like they've just seen me show up differently. I'm so much more calm.
Yeah.
The calm is contagious. I've learned how to really regulate my emotions and not yell at my kids. And not hit. Never. That wasn't like a crazy issue, but yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you like, you lose it. And God's really just helped me listen to them and just be much more affectionate and sensitive. I've learned how
Mm.
sensitive my kids are. Um, and for those things, like, wow, this pain would have never brought those things out of me.
Yeah.
So I think, like, just first of all, how God's shifting is like, I had a business mentor last year. He said, it was actually really, really, really great line. He said, Vince, your team is not your family. Your kids are your family. So, like, you're talking about business, the first thing I really thought of, like, with regards to my business is I need to downsize, I need to simplify my business. But I'm like, I got all these team members and, they rely on me and they need jobs and like I can't let them go. And I don't like to hurt, fire people and stuff. They wouldn't have been fired. I just would have had to let them go because we're downsizing everything. And then I realized like I was putting more weight and worry into like how like these grown adults would be. And someone's like, dude, they're freaking adults. They can find new jobs. They're grown-ups. They're not kids. So I was worried more about how they were going to feel rather than my own kids when they don't get daddy's attention. So I think the very first shift was really to try and figure out like, how does this business serve me? And how does this business serve my family first and foremost? And that required really just looking at the model, the acquisition strategy, how we do fulfillment, just everything, how many things we'd work on at once, and just simplifying the business. That's still in motion right now. But also just simplifying like goals. Like, what are the goals? Hey, why don't we focus on more profit instead of just more top line revenue? Leaner team. Why don't we focus on leaner team, better client results? Why don't we focus on more fun? Why don't we schedule more fun into the year tied to profit so that this business is, in fact, something that people would want to have? Because the joke was like, Vince, you make all this money, but you're always stressed. That was like the joke in my family. Vince, you brag about making all this money every month, but like you're constantly stressed and you're never present. Like you're not really selling it. You're not doing a good job selling it. And this is the people that know you the most.
Amen.
Right,
Yeah.
on social media, like, "Oh, he's building another house. Oh, he's on another trip. Oh, he got a nice car now. Oh, he got a $300,000 car now." Like, it was just like, I was selling it online, but I wasn't selling it to the people that really knew me. So that was, like, the first thing. I wanna have a business that people are like, "Hey, I really like your business. You don't seem stressed. It's producing profits, and it seems simple, and it seems easy." Now, I haven't said I've completely arrived to that, but I'm no longer like comparing myself to the guys that are doing 7 figures a month and we've got 50-person teams now, and I'm now looking at the guys who are like, working 3, 4 hours a week and have 80, 90% profit margins and have really impactful businesses. So like even who I'm looking to as a model has shifted. So I think like to answer your question, I'm really trying to figure out how to make business simple and easy. And as a guy that came from the alpha male world, like those aren't words guys like me use. Those are like surrender words. Those are defeat words. Those are like slowing down
Huh.
words. They're just like they're kind of the alpha guys would kind of mock you. They wouldn't even believe that you're actually being genuine. They're just like, "Oh, your just business is struggling. You're just coming up with a new marketing angle, and that's your next marketing angle." So, and I'm like, they're so disconnected. They can't even imagine being able to feel something that could be peaceful. So what they're in is a survival strategy of just defending the model they've built with all their dysfunctions. So I get it because I've been there. So I have sympathy for when they say that. They just haven't really realized what it could look like to have a business that doesn't mean constantly on. So I think for me is like I want to create a business that one serves me and the family and make that the product so that like the business prior was like get to 20K, 50K, 100K, 300K months. Like it was just about money. It was about numbers. And now I'm marketing like, hey, let's market peace. Let's market purpose.
Yes.
Let's market predictability, right? Let's market profits. Um, let's market passion. Like that's what people want. So really what I'm trying to do is ensuring that I got a good product. And the product before was, hey, I'm successful. I'm running these big events. A lot of people know me. A lot of people are in my program, and I've got this top line revenue. But I also am going through this crazy divorce.
Yeah.
Like that's not a product. That's I don't want to sell. That was my that was the product. It was like, hey, and I even had a coaching client. One of my top female clients, she called me out on a coaching call once and she said, Vince, you're talking about all this stuff you regret, but like I signed up to make the amount of money you make. So like, can you kind of reconcile this for me? Because I didn't sign up to hear about like all these changes you're making. I want like I like what you actually had. And like, that's BS. You don't want what I used to have because what
Right.
I had, it led me to where I'm at.
Yeah.
So you need to trust me that like, no, you think you want what I had. Yes, there was a lot of wealth produced. However, um, you don't want where that path was leading. And where that path is going to lead you is, you're going to lose your marriage too. Because
Death and destruction all the way.
because she couldn't turn off and she's trying to climb as fast as possible. And so I have sympathy. I'm not like I'm not the kind of coach. I'm not going to like, I don't want to be the guy that says, I told you so, but I know I'm going to tell a lot of people that have told my story to, I told you so. And,
Well, I can the listeners can relate because, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. High performers putting that amount of stress, like dying inside, is one of the number one, like the number one stressors. Like you're in fight or flight mode all of the time.
mm,
Um, but when God starts pruning those pieces, isn't it so interesting and so amazing, like how gentle and patient He is? And when He starts softening our heart and reprioritizing how our life should be, like I've been in the mom moment where I was always present and my kiddo, even though I have 50-50, he's here all the time.
mm,
And that's okay. So I'm present at every basketball game and I'm kind of the bus driver, but it's been amazing to shut down and walk away from that. So how have your kids, do you think, benefited just from moving back here as you started to downsize, which shifted your trajectory and gave more focus back to them? Have you seen them like grow and
mm.
start to thrive again?
Oh, big time. I think, I did a trip last year with my oldest. We came down to Nashville when we were in Toronto. We went to Ann Wilson concert. We did 3 days together, just like a daddy daughter 3 night excursion, just her and I. It was the
That's
best
awesome.
best trip of both our lives. And yeah, I led her through the bridge and the sinner's prayer, and she accepted Jesus into her heart. And
Oh, that's wonderful.
it was so special. And I went on a youth X trip, a 5-day summer camp from Toronto to North Carolina. It was a 16-hour bus ride, if you can believe that, um, with um, with our church elevation, and I was an adult chaperone for a week. Those are things I never would have made time for. We got into skiing 3 years ago, so every weekend, it'd be me. And I've got a pretty big engine, so like uh, you know, I've got high capacity as it is, but this has created like a whole nother level of capacity of like, taking 3 kids in a truck with 4 sets of skis, boots, helmets, poles, snowsuits, having to do all their boots up, in the cold without gloves,
Oh, wow.
walking the stuff in, taking care of a little one who doesn't know how to ski and being with her and while she's crying, 75% of the time. Like I just said, like, there was a lot of times I just kind of felt sorry for myself. Like, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. I should have my partner here, and she's missing out on all these amazing memories and experiences. But like, I'm like, you know what? We are going to have a good life. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think one year we went to like 7 different worship concerts. We saw Maverick City, we saw Phil Wickman, Brandon Lake, we saw Elevation a couple times, Chris Tomlin, we saw Ann Wilson. Like, so like we just made it a thing. Like, there's a lot of things that we do now as me and the kids. One, we go to church. Church is just non-negotiable. They know that we go to church. I entered them in a bunch of running races. Daddy, we don't want to do. I'm like, I don't care. Daddy, we're not running. We're not doing. I don't care. Right? That's not fair. I'm like, life's not fair. Daddy gets to make the decisions, and daddy has to make decisions in the best interest of all of us, not just one of you. So like, I'm teaching them, right? I'm
Yeah.
teaching them respect. I'm teaching them, there's consequences now to, last night, we went out and, actually, yeah, the 2 older ones didn't eat their food, so they didn't get ice cream, and they were throwing temper tantrums in the restaurant and, started to kinda ruin what was, like, a really nice night, and it was like, "Hey, do I bend here?" And then the little one got ice cream because she obeyed, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm learning that, like, I'm learning how to be a dad. I'm learning how to, I think, help them become adults. My goal is not to be their friend. My goal
Yes.
is to raise them so that we can be friends when they're older. And
Yes.
yeah, I do believe they all have hearts for the Lord. This year, we're trying to get into more scripture memory. They were in a Christian school the last couple years, so like they can memorize massive passages. The school is so
Yeah.
amazing, but now they're in the public system, so I'm like, I can feel that a bit more. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to kick in. I'm gonna have to do, you can kind of like delegate a bit of spiritual growth to the school if they're in a good private Christian school, but now they're in a public school. So I'm like, I can see like I have to pick up where they weren't getting that 8 hours a day. So it's all progress. It's all progress. It's on my radar. But I think those have been some of the more precious moments. Just again, just spending time together. We do a lot of. I'm kind of like that dad that does like I'm always doing stuff with them. I got criticized for that. Like, why don't you just sit around? I'm like, because we like to do stuff. Like, we go bowling and we go on hikes and we like to
Those are
explore
where you create the
restaurants. And
memories.
I'm just a dad that we don't like to sit around. So
Yeah.
like they do a lot of stuff. They might be a little spoiled that way, but like they're going to definitely have a lot of memories. So I think I've just and it's interesting that why am I sharing all this? Because I think a lot of guys listening, they say they want to be a great dad, but they don't understand like
What it takes.
it just takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. It's just like
An
kid,
investment of
yeah,
time.
yeah. Kids spell love Time.
Mm.
So it's time. And yeah, we do all sorts of things. Like right now our thing is I bought a new cookbook, Cooking for Gains. This awesome Instagram guy, it's called Cooking for Gains. And my oldest, now she films us like creating these recipes together, and then she's my video
That's
editor, and I
awesome.
pay her $20 for a reel, and she's learning how to use CapCut and makes videos, and she's really good. And
Oh,
so
maybe
like,
I should take lessons from her.
we're cooking. So we're cooking together. So like I just like life has like become like I feel like we're actually living. And
That's
before I
so
felt like
good.
yeah, before it's interesting because when I had a partner, I would work right to the brink, like right to the brink every day. So when I came up, you know what I do? I just go lie on the couch.
Well, it
And
sucks all the energy out of you
yeah,
when you're in that mode and that mindset. Like you've died inside, and so you're physically exhausted because you're never at rest. So I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, rest wasn't celebrated. And now I just
No.
had to learn, like, I have to, like, figure out a schedule where, like, it's taken me almost 3 years to get to a point where I have more energy than not to spend time with him in the evening time. So before, like, there was phases where I'm like, "Guys, just they're little, like, you shouldn't be doing this. Like, guys, you just gotta go to bed on your own. I'm exhausted." Where, like, it was just tiring to, like, tuck them in. So I'm like, "Okay, this was all just a mirror exposing that I still need to simplify. If I
Right.
want it, like, if my North Star is ensuring that I'm a highly engaged dad to the best of my abilities, and I'm not perfect, it just, like, if I'm not able to find energy to tuck them in at night, it means that I'm still trying to do too much.
Yes.
At least for now. Maybe one day, God willing, if I have a partner, I'll have some more capacity to, but at the moment, I just have to really figure out how to do the dad thing on my own. Um, because what I started to see, I just want to share this one last thought,
Yeah.
was my oldest, I started to notice, like, if I don't fix this, I'm gonna, like, lose her.
Yeah.
Because I started to see some of the same things that showed up in my marriage where, like, "Dad, you're not listening, you're always on your phone." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm doing it again." I'm
Yeah.
literally repeating what I did in my marriage now with my kids, and the 2 little ones are much more forgiving, but the oldest one, she gets upset. She's like, "You never listen." Like, "Sorry, I'm listening now, tell me now." She's like, "Forget it. Forget it. I always have to repeat myself. Why am I gonna repeat myself if you don't care?" I'm like, "Wow." So I'm like, "I'm gonna repeat these same mistakes with this 12-year-old because she's so on point, like, she's so connected emotionally that, I need to get this right."
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm essentially it's crazy that if you don't, and I'm sharing this because if you don't fix this, it will continue to repeat itself.
Cycles are repetitive. So listeners, like, listen up. Like, we've talked about the cycles of repetition. We've talked about realizing, recognizing, and breaking them off, making small modification each and every day. But Vince is so right. And Vince, like, while yours are small, enjoy every single moment. My last one is a teenager. He's 15, avid basket. So we are busy, and he will hoop 7 days a week, because his goal is to play college basketball, and he's
Mhm,
going to do it. But
mm,
the small moments that I get with him anymore, because he is 15, he has friends. But I
mm.
tell you what, keep praying in front of them, keep leading because they watch. There's
Yeah.
not a single time, like Landon, who's been my ride or die. He has seen me face down, crying out, spirit falling on this house, and never once has that kid questioned anything, but he has been my ride or die.
Mhm.
His little smile, well, he's not little anymore. He's 6'1" at 15 and not even hit
Wow.
puberty yet. So, but it's those precious moments that you're experiencing right now. Like, don't let go of them. Hold on to them. And my best advice is continue to make those memories, because at some point parents aren't cool anymore. I mean, they're
Mhm.
cool in secret, but their
That's funny.
friends take over, and it's humbling to watch, because you're right. Like, I used to be explosive, and just hard exterior. And now, like, you can't shake me on very much, because I'll practice the pause, think about it before I react. But
Oh,
it's amazing when God has pruned myself, and even hearing you talk, how, like, it just changes and shapes every mindset that you have. But again, it's in the surrender. It's the recognizing, it's the pushing, and it's making those small changes every day, because nothing happens overnight. And that's kind of what we've been talking about here is, when you come to Jesus, there's warfare. And he doesn't radically change you and drop everything at once. He
mm,
changes you bit by bit, piece by piece, because he's never going to give you more than you can handle at that time, because he
yeah,
doesn't want the weight to crush you.
yeah.
Um, Vince, I cannot thank you enough for being a guest on here. And I just want to leave us with Ezekiel 14:3. The Son of Man, these men have self idols in their hearts, and put before them that which causes them to stumble into inequity. So,
Mhm,
friends, listeners, watch what you're doing. If
mhm,
something is keeping you from worship or walking in obedience, take a moral inventory of it.
Hmm.
Send in questions. We can discuss it. There are resources available. And remember, a beautiful, blessing heart to bless others will bless you more than it does them. So, as always, I ask you to open your hearts to Advocates for Africa. The link will be in the show notes. Give a child hope. How much are you spending at Starbucks every month?
Hmm.
For 41 cents a day, you can feed, clothe, and send a child to school in the bush in Rwanda. If you want more information, reach out to me directly. I'll give you my personal testimony over the mission work that I do there. And as always, sexual trauma is real and sex trafficking is real. So, Happy Horizons Children Home in Indonesia is near and dear to my heart as well. Those show notes are in there. Um, give, give back and do something greater than yourself. And as always, friends, this is Elizabeth at Grace in the Breaking. I love you and God loves you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today on Grace in the Breaking. If this episode spoke to your heart, please remember to follow, download, and share it with someone who might need a little encouragement right now. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. As I close, I want to leave you with this reminder, 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. So no matter what season you're walking through, you are not alone. And there is always grace in the breaking. For more information, resources, or to connect with me, visit graceinthebreaking.com or email me at info@graceinthebreaking.com. Until next time, friends, stay rooted in faith, hold on to hope, and remember that there is grace in the breaking.